So hello and welcome everyone to the Environmental Quality Committee's 2022 Speaker Series. This is the last event for the year, so we hope that you've enjoyed this year's topics, learned a lot from our presenters, and are looking forward to next year. If you have any comments you would like to share from the series overall, feel free to reach out to members of the EQC as well as staff. We're happy to always hear feedback from attendees. I'd like to take the time really quickly to give recognition to the EQC's Green Community Awards program. If you or someone you know has recently done a native planting project at a shoreline buffer, installed solar panels, or have done any other sort of environmental project, you should consider applying for a Green Community Award. The committee has 3 award categories: water, energy, and a general category. The application is on the city's web page and is due July 8th. Award applicants will be contacted in August to discuss their application, and winners or recipients will be recognized by the mayor at a city council meeting and will receive a yard sign to display. So again, thank you everyone for joining us this evening. Just so everyone is aware, those attending via Zoom, you can share your screen and unmute. If you have any questions or comments for the speaker, you can either type them into the chat, into the Q&A, or we can always unmute as during that Q&A session at the end. We'll be monitoring each of those features throughout the presentation, and any questions that are asked in there, the speaker can answer them at the end. This event is being recorded and will be available for viewing by the end of the week. So without further ado, it is my great pleasure to introduce tonight's speaker. Lisa Thurstin, I believe I'm pronouncing your last name correctly. If I'm not, please correct me. The Minnesota Clean Cities Coalition coordinator since 2007, is a senior manager and has been with the Clean Air team at the American Lung Association in Minnesota since 2000. Her duties include implementation of the Lung Association's clean fuel activities through the Clean Air Choice Consumer Education Program. In addition to extensive biofuels work, she is the current primary investigator for 2 U.S. Department of Energy projects, the Twin Cities Electric Vehicle Community Mobility Network and the Cold Weather Operation, Observation, and Learning Electric Vehicles, or COOL EVs, that's COOL EVs. Both projects entail deploying electric vehicle charging and electric vehicles, along with providing supporting outreach and education, and creating a community-focused mobility network that reduces barriers to EV adoption. Midwest Evolve continues to be active as a partnership between the American Lung Association and Clean Cities Coalitions in 7 Midwestern states. The purpose of Midwest Evolve is to educate consumers and fleet managers about the performance and environmental advantages of electric vehicles. Lisa's overall responsibilities include grant management, event coordination, producing educational and marketing materials, and partnership development. Lisa was inducted into the U.S. Department of Energy's Clean Cities Hall of Fame in 2011. So thank you, Lisa, for taking the time to join us tonight. Whenever you are ready, we can take it away. I will get working on sharing my screen, and we can launch the first poll if you'd like.
That would be great. Thank you. I need to shorten up that bio.
You are
Some
all
of these
good.
project names are very long, and it's talking about outreach and education.
You're all good. I'm trying to now share my screen. Let's see why it's not letting me. So many fun stuff.
Here I can launch the poll. So first of 3 questions. Are you planning to purchase an electric lawnmower before attending this webinar? And so attendees can answer. And then, do you expect to purchase a electric lawnmower for your next mower? And then the final one will come back to at the end, hopefully. So, not sure if we're going to have any polls here, but.
So it looks like we have to answer all of the questions now.
Okay, so let's just do 1 and 2 and say what you're looking forward to for 3. All right, so we'll just get started here. So thank you again for inviting me to this webinar. As said, my name is Lisa Thurstin, and I'm the director at the American Lung Association and also support and coordinate Minnesota Clean Cities Coalition. This presentation was originally developed in 2020 with support from Shift to Electric and Fresh Energy, and it continues to be updated and reutilized through communities. So thank you again for inviting me. Next slide. So before I get to the topic at hand, I wanted to take a moment to address why I, with the American Lung Association, am involved in air quality and electric lawn equipment. The American Lung Association mission is to save lives by improving lung health and preventing lung disease. And so one strategy under that is to improve the air we breathe so that it will not cause or worsen lung disease. Our office in St. Paul also coordinates the Minnesota Clean Cities Coalition, which I mentioned, which is one of nearly 75 coalitions throughout the country with the U.S. Department of Energy's Clean Cities program. The coalitions are made up of stakeholders working to foster the nation's economic, environmental, and energy security by working locally to advance affordable domestic transportation fuels and energy efficient mobility systems and other fuel saving technologies and practices. This can be done through the use of alternative fuels like biofuels and electricity and other strategies that reduce our country's dangerous dependence on petroleum. Next slide. So with this webinar tonight, I'm going to cover a variety of topics: electric technology advances, clean air and health benefits, other benefits included in electric lawn equipment, information about electric equipment on the market, what to consider, talking about battery capacity and costs, and then care and maintenance, and then we'll have some time for Q&A at the end. Next slide. So let's talk about what is happening with all this cool electric technology in batteries. In 2010, batteries cost over $1,000, and now we're seeing just over $100 per kilowatt hour. And that's why we're seeing this electric technology in so many areas. It's not just about vehicles anymore. Also coming along is renewable energy. You can see in Xcel Energy's grid it's getting cleaner all the time. And they are coming down so fast. So that means our equipment is producing much less and our footprint is much cleaner every day. Next slide. So what many people don't realize is that emissions from mobile sources, the vehicles and equipment we use almost every day, are the largest source of pollutants in Minnesota. And that's why we focus our efforts on fuels and technologies in our program. Air pollution affects everyone, but is especially harmful to the young and elderly, as well as anyone with respiratory disease conditions like asthma and COPD. People of color and low-income communities are also disproportionately impacted. And this is true in part because these communities tend to have higher rates of respiratory conditions and other health conditions that are worsened by air pollution. They also are more likely to live and work in areas with higher levels of air pollution, such as busy roadways. There has been a growing evidence also we've seen that seems to demonstrate that people who live in areas of higher levels of air pollution are more adversely affected by COVID-19. Next slide. So here next, I'm going to dig into pollution associated with yard equipment. You can see here each weekend about 54 million Americans mow their lawns, amounting to approximately 800 million gallons of gas per year used. At least 17 million gallons of gasoline are spilled annually just by filling equipment, yard equipment, and this fact is also applied to all the equipment with spillage and fuel theft being major costs for fleets and general consumers. So on the left pie graph is provided by Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, showing the breakdown of pollutants in the big picture, which is part of, you can see, second largest source of pollutants when you break it down. And on the right graph shows the specifics of VOCs from assorted sources. Data from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics also tells us that the rate of increase in employees currently needed to maintain the landscape industry, and this means more equipment is needed to maintain landscapes, parks, and properties. Next slide. So according to the most recent study conducted by the EPA, gasoline-powered garden and lawn equipment emits significant amounts of pollutants. Over the course of 1 year, approximately 26.7 million tons of pollutants were emitted by gasoline-powered garden and lawn equipment. With these are very large numbers, and they're especially important considering that the source of emission is in such close proximity to the equipment operator. And while not everyone may think about the ways that their gas-powered lawn equipment impacts their health, I'd like to talk specifically about the health impacts of the 3 pollutants that folks are probably a little bit less familiar with: particulate matter, nitrogen oxides, and volatile organic compounds. Next slide. So the particulate matter produced by gasoline-powered equipment has a range of sizes, and the really small particle matter is the most of concern. The particles that are smaller than 2.5 micrometers in diameter specifically. This matter is called PM2.5, and you can see in this visual that 20 PM2.5 particles can fit across the width of a human hair. PM2.5 can get into and irritate our eyes and airways, and it is also small enough to get deep into your lungs and cause problems with respiratory and cardiovascular systems. Short-term exposure to fine particles can cause a variety of health problems, as shown on the previous slide. And over time, breathing fine particles in the air increases the chances of COPD, chronic bronchitis, cardiovascular disease, or lung cancer. Next slide. Volatile organic compounds and nitrogen oxides that are emitted by this equipment are also significant pollutants because of their contribution to the formation of ground level ozone. The VOCs react with the nitrogen oxides to create ozone molecules, and UV radiation from the sun speeds up the reaction, which is why ground level ozone production is higher on hot, sunny days. And exposure to ozone is likened to a sunburning of the lungs and can trigger or exacerbate asthma and other lung conditions. Then this leads to emergency room visits and hospitalizations. Next slide. So now here we are to talk about what the lawn equipment specifically. Using an electric lawnmower is a great way to reduce the pollution that you generate and that expose yourself to. There are many models currently available, and we've compiled a couple of information sheets to help you with your research. And you'll note if you go to electriclawnequipmentinfo.org, the list has a little caveat on the bottom that this is not an exclusive list, it's just from data that we've found and compiled from the previous season. So, and it will be updated again this year, but the information is very robust. So the first list is battery powered mowers that are currently on the market. Each row is a particular mower, with each column being a piece of information about the mower. The second list is electric corded mowers, which I have, and it is in the same format. Both of these lists, again, are available at electriclawninfo.org. Also on that are past recordings of information too. So if you want to see any other webinars about some of our other talks on these specifics, you can check that out. For the battery powered mower list, we have a total of 53 mowers from various manufacturers, and we've included up to 3 mowers from each manufacturer. If a manufacturer offers more than 3 models, we've chosen 3 mowers that span the range of the manufacturer's available prices. And the first mower is lower cost. This next will be the middle price range, and then the last will be the higher cost end. I'll quickly run through the information that we have on each mower. Again, the first column is the name of the manufacturer. By clicking the name, you'll take you to their website in theory. I'm not sure if that's still active or not, so it may need to be updated. Next, there's the model number of the mower and a photo. When you have the cutting width, maximum cutting height, weight, and the battery size or amp hours of each battery. And if there's more than one battery sold in a package with the mower, the information is also the battery size column. And if you have to get 2 batteries, the sheet says 2x. And if you get 4 batteries, it says 4x. There is the voltage, the battery capacity, watt hours, whether or not the mower is self-propelled, and whether or not it comes with a collection bag. Finally, there's information about the MSRP. And again, this was compiled, last season, so prices really differ over time too, and it's very hard to keep it up to date, but it gives you a good starting place. So also the warranty on the mower and what other outdoor equipment is compatible with these batteries that are bought with that mower. And then also all of the batteries used in these mowers can be used in other outdoor equipments produced by the respective manufacturer. So we have listed the other equipment you can use in the batteries you're in, and there's a key found at the bottom of the list, and you can see what the abbreviations in the column mean. So they're pretty intuitive. CS is chainsaw, HT is hedge trimmer, and so forth. So the information list on the electric corded mowers is very similar, except it lacks battery related information and tells you the amps, voltage, and watts of the mower. So I believe we have about 19 mowers on that list. Next slide. So again, just talking about the plethora information of data we have on this website, electriclawninfo.org. We have electric lawnmowers, both corded and battery, chainsaw, leaf blowers, trimmers. Now we have snow blowers. And then we also have been starting to update lists to include commercial lawn equipment. And this list does include a little bit more than just pure electric. It also includes some propane and other fuels. And there are a lot of good incentives out there for these other fuels that are still cleaner than your petroleum. Next slide. So here we're getting into the actual overview of the equipment. So many of the benefits I've already talked about, less energy used. Mowing average city lawn takes about the same amount of electricity as boiling half a gallon of water. No emissions, so much quieter, which again is great for both the equipment user and your neighborhood. Less vibration, so again, easier on the user. No need to mess with gasoline. You don't have to worry about buying it, selling it, storing it off season. It always starts, as long as your battery is powered up or plugged in. It's cheaper to use in the overall use of it. Easy maintenance. It's typically lighter than the gasoline versions. And again, easier to store. In some of the past presentations with our partners, we have actually in the garage, so they can show demo of turning them down, setting them up, and leaning them against your wall and storing them in your garage. So again, a lot of good data in the other presentations as well, if you're interested. So next slide. Talking about corded versus cordless. And again, here I included a past picture with a snowblower. So sorry about that in this season. It's like taboo at this time of year. So if you want to, why would you choose corded mower over a battery? So a corded mower is typically cheaper than a battery mower. If you have a small lawn, it's really easy to have a long extension cord. It's typically lighter than the other battery powered. And you just have to not worry about dealing with the cord. And I've had one for several years and I love it. With the battery, you don't have to worry about the cord. Looking for the self-propelled mowers are battery powered, so that's a little bit easier on bigger lawns, or if you have hills, you can use the same battery again with other yard equipment. Next slide. So talking about how to choose your lawnmower, you want to think about your size of your lawn. This is one example we've used with the standard city lot is 20 by 120, typically 4,800 square feet minus the house. And then you take off the garage, take off the driveway, sidewalks and paths. And so then that leads to your typically about 3,000 square feet. And again, in the chart, it kind of showed how to the distance and capability of the specific mowers. Then we have a simple little formula. So looking at, and also you would need to think about how often do you mow or how much do you cut each time? So do you let it grow long and then have to do more heavy duty cutting? So consider your battery capacity, the deck diameter, the width, and then again, just are you cutting rarely in long grass? So you want a higher voltage. Next slide. So next you talk about battery capacity and electricity costs. So there's a very simple formula here. You look at the volts and amps hours, and then times, and then that equals your watts hours. So 56 volts times the 5 amps is 280 kilowatts. So the battery capacity ranges between 100 and 400 kilowatts. So, and then putting that into your square feet with a non-propelling gives you your formula here. You can add capacity by buying a second battery, and you can just switch it out if you end up doing a lot of cutting. And the formula kind of ends up coming to about 1 kilowatt of electricity equals about 12 cents. So if the average city lot is 3,000 square feet and it takes about 200 watts to mow it, we assume the charging inefficiencies, and you say you need about 250 watts to charge. This means that if you mow your lawn 4 times, you use 1 kilowatt of energy, so it costs you about 12 cents. And you can mow average city lot 33 times for $1. Pretty good numbers here to tell the story. Next slide. Looking at the simplicity of care and maintenance. Here you can see in the top is the bottom of the mower, and you just want to make sure that you're keeping that clippings after each use cleaned. So wiping it off and where all the green is on there, and then checking the blade for at the same time and sharpen it as needed. Or again, you can take it into your local hardware store to have it sharpened as needed. Looking at making sure you don't have too many dings on your blade. And again, it's just a simple replacement. Typically, you want to have your battery 3/4 charged in the fall. And then you just, it really goes both ways. Some people just have very little worries about their battery and they leave them out in the garage all winter. And some people bring it in. So in both cases, over the past 3 years that we've been doing presentations similar to this, it goes both ways and there's no one great success story. So again, you want to just check your battery charge level once or twice in the winter time. And again, you want to keep it at about 3/4 charge. But if you have a corded mower like mine, I don't worry about it at all till the spring again, or summer when it finally gets nice out and we can mow, such as this year. Next slide. Other considerations you want to think about are, do you want self-propelled or not? In my situation, I have a hill, and so it's a little bit more helpful. If you have a big lawn, it's nice to have a self-propelled. Are you collecting or mulching or both? And again, it's just real simple bag. And again, on the chart, it shows if it includes a mulching bag or not. Automatic blade speed adjustments, cutting heights, weights of the equipment, and then the warranty. Some of the mowers have more options to adjust the weight or the height of each wheels, either front and back or individual wheels. So if you have a lot of an odd yard that you want a little more just careful, very precise, you can adjust it by the wheel. Otherwise, you just keep it, it's pretty straightforward, and you just plug it in or turn it on with the battery and go. Here again, we were talking about other equipment using the same batteries. Do you have a trimmer, hedge trimmer, leaf blower, chainsaw, snow blower, hand tools? And these are really ramping up, and there's a lot available just on the market at your local hardware store or on Amazon or through big box stores such as Menards or Home Depot. Next slide. Becoming more popular are larger mowers. So you have riding mowers, and that was on one of the commercial mower sheets that I'd mentioned earlier. Sometimes it's nice with the bigger lawns to have mowing all the time with the robot mowers. And these are very simple. They're a little more expensive, but you set them up in the spring, kind of set your parameters through the programming. Again, very simple overall. And they charge automatically. You can set them what days, how often, and they'll just set out and start charging or start mowing. And then they go back into their little system and charge themselves. They're very convenient. They work great on hills, large lawns, and but they are more expensive. Definitely, you're going to jump up to $1,000 plus just starting off. Whereas the other mowers, you can start off with a couple $100, or just even if you use them used, you can find them for a little bit lower. We do have one good article here that you can check out on your own time. And next slide, please. As I mentioned before, we've done this webinar many times. And if you want to see some of the actual equipment that we've demoed with Yuka Kukunen with Shift to Electric, you can go to this. And if you start at minute 36, you can see the equipment in real time. Just in the garage setting where he goes, Yuka goes through and demonstrates how to put a battery in, how to take it out, how to fold it down, the different styles, corded versus battery powered, and it is pretty slick, so it's fun to watch. So next slide, I believe this is my last slide here, just again my information and website. There's a lot of information online at the resources page, Electric Lawn Info. You can check also with your utility programs. So I know Dakota Electric and East Central Electric in Minnesota has had programs and rebates. If you want to talk about other health and air quality in your home, there's a few other tips and tricks here talking about humidity, ventilation systems, and tips to keep pollution out. So working with the American Lung Association, I have to give that pitch of we want good air quality inside the house as well as outside. And with that, I thank you for inviting me again to this webinar. And this, as I mentioned at the beginning, this presentation was developed in 2020 with the support of Shift to Electric and Fresh Energy, and has been updated many times and utilized through different practices. So thank you again, and let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Lisa. I did just stop sharing real quick in case people want to, show their screens or, their videos and ask questions. If people have more specific questions about a certain slide, you can definitely go back to sharing that. But let's see. Say there is, Tim did post in the chat. He said, I saw one of these mowers during my run Saturday morning, no noise. They got their lawn mowed early on Saturday without bothering any of the neighbors. So definitely some positives then with the noise level, and yeah, really not making a ruckus or getting people to call and complain if you're mowing the lawn super early, or whoever decides to do that on a Saturday morning.
And we're beginning to see these more in municipalities and city programs too. So it's great, and more quieter, cleaner, better for the employees as well. Paul?
Thanks, Lisa, for joining us. I really appreciate it. We're going to make you viral. The thing that always stunned me, and I think would interest most people, is seeing just how bad a gas-powered lawnmower is for air quality and health compared to a passenger vehicle. And I've seen different numbers, like, running your mower for an hour is like driving to Florida and back, or there are lots of caveats with that about what you're comparing. but it would seem that the people that are most at risk are often in communities within the core cities, where there's more density, more other types of emission sources, obviously interstate highways and the like. And that tends to affect people who have low incomes, new Americans, immigrants, people of color. I am just wondering if anyone has pursued the idea of something like a cash for clunkers idea for lawn mowers rather than old vehicles, because the disparities in air quality are so bad.
Yes, it has been discussed with the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, and they did have some rebates for changing out the equipment a few years ago. I don't think there's anything active at this point in time, but it would be great if anyone that watches this puts in a request to their community to have that sort of program set up. Would be fantastic.
And then a follow-up question, which is more local. So generally speaking, I would say Shoreview residents are more likely to be able to switch out equipment, or when their old mower dies out, they can get a new one, and you can go to Home Depot or Lowe's and battery electric stuff is on the shelf a lot. But we have bigger lawns. We have people who are more obsessed with their lawns. We use too much water, so we've got a rebate to keep people from stop doing that. I'm just wondering if at the city, is when we advertise things like the cost share for the irrigation controllers, which save a huge amount of stuff, that we will also might insert some information about cleaner lawn equipment. That's a pitch. See, I got off the EQC years ago, so now I can just shoot my mouth off and plunk it on their shoulders.
Good. It's always nice to hear ideas.
All right.
And this lawn equipment is also available used on Facebook Marketplace. I upgraded my mower last year for a better model for a cheaper price. I think I paid $35 for mine. So
I actually bought more lawn care equipment that's electric using the same battery platform, because I didn't want to buy a trimmer and a edger and these other things, because I didn't want to have to figure out the gas and oil. And I even got a chainsaw. Forgive me, but I have used it. But I'm waiting for the big storm that takes down the neighbor's tree, and I'll say, aha.
Lisa, I had a question too. Really good presentation. I learned a lot, so thank you. I really like that slide where I didn't like it, but the amount of gas that's spilled each year and what's used, that's crazy. So really, that was interesting. But do you know, like, have you worked with big landscaping companies to promote this, or do you know of any big landscaping companies that are using electric vehicle or mowers and such?
we have been presenting this to companies for 2 years now. We attend the Northern Green Expo, which is all landscape equipment, and present this information to them. We've seen several cities have been starting to utilize them more, and we will be, this will be a project with our Green Corps member starting this next year in the fall, for her to reach out to present presentations similar to this, but more commercial based information. And so we're hoping to switch over another quantity of fleets to electric or cleaner fuels, other cleaner fuels. Paul?
Is there anything like model language for homeowners associations when they have a contract with a lawn care company? Hint, hint.
There is not, but we can add that to our list for development, or if that's something in your community that you would like to develop and share, we can include that.
I have observed that Shoreview is usually a little more hesitant to do something that Minneapolis and St. Paul might do in a regulatory way, and we tend to want to offer the carrot rather than the stick.
Mm-hmm.
But just educating some of these HOAs about what to ask for from their vendors would really be helpful. Sometimes that's all you need. And I can't imagine anyone would object to the idea of easing in equipment that would be quieter.
Mm-hmm.
That's another hint for my Shoreview piece.
Yeah, I wanted to ask if you had examples of other cities that are cities in general that have incorporated electric into maintenance activities.
Yeah.
But Paige kind of already got at that, so it sounds like it's starting to pick up.
Mm-hmm. The DNR, the state parks has done a lot. I believe it's Eden Prairie has done it for several years now, and there's a case study that's been shared. So I can find that and share the link that you can include to share with your community.
Yeah, that would be great. And separately, I think I've read, it just seems like there's been a number of articles recently about how terrible leaf blowers are. I don't know if you guys have seen those, but I've seen an article like in the New York Times and the Atlantic about just leaf blowers and how polluting they are, and similar to what Paul said about these crazy statistics or comparisons of, I think the one I heard was using a leaf blower for like 30 minutes is the same as driving a Ford F-150 from, up to Alaska or something. And so, and I guess I just don't know that much about small engines. If that's the same across the board for all lawn equipment, like you're talking about, in those high polluting levels, and based on the way the engine functions, is that
pretty similar? There's a few different caveats, and again, we did a whole presentation on just handheld equipment, and there was one of the guest speakers was with a local community that uses them and teaches students how to use the equipment and maintain them too. So, but similar numbers overall. Mm-hmm. Switch out.
Lisa, are any of these like solar rechargeable, or other means other than just plugging them in?
Not that I'm aware of, but again, I would just invite everyone to consider using renewable energy for their home electricity, wind source, or through Excel, or solar through community programs. There are so many great programs that even if, like for example, my house is not optimal for solar, but I can opt into solar local community programs that do benefit. So those are considerations you can do until the technology is more directly with the equipment.
Awesome. It looks like we lost Maria, but I think we're still recording and still good to go. Any other questions, anybody? Lisa, do you have that YouTube link accessible that you could put in the chat so we can copy that? Or is that, maybe we can just get it off the recording too?
Yep. There you go.
Great, thank you.
And start at minute 36.
36, okay.
See, I'm wondering if the EQC does a annual workshop with the council, or do you have a working platform that you present to the council of ideas?
Yep, Paul, we meet with the council meets with all commissions once every 2 years. We do a report to the council leading up to that, where we list all of our goals that we set as a committee. And then we also expand on that to have some future topics that might be of interest to the council that aren't part of our working goals. So there is the potential that we could slide something like this into that report. Yeah.
That's just my annoying outsider opinion. If we can find or develop some language to help educate the HOAs, because the city must communicate with them regularly about all sorts of things.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, my HOA contracts out with, with a private company to do lawn maintenance. I don't know that the HOA gets involved at all with anything about how they provide the service. They're just looking at the cost.
Right.
I do like the point of, there's the environmental benefits, but the noise thing is huge. Be a good point to target.
They're uptight people who don't care about climate but hate noise.
Yeah, right.
I am descended from these people.
Anecdotally, we've had companies come by our booth when we're at the conference talking about how there's less medical complaints put in because of the vibration reduction and the noise on their ear pollution.
Oh, for the staff, you mean?
Yep.
So we're pro worker.
So it's a benefit for the crew. Yep. And I dropped a few links into the chat too as well.
Great, thank you.
This is wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have anything else. Maria, welcome back. We kept it running while you disappeared.
Yeah, thank you for doing. I don't know what happened. My computer just decided to restart. It, like went black and there was an error message. So thank you for keeping. I was really nervous that the recording would have stopped, and I was doing my best to log back on as quick as possible.
Good.
Well, thank you, Lisa.
Thank you again for having me. If there's any questions that come out of this, let me know. And looking forward to seeing what comes out of it for Shoreview's community.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will get to work on that. Yeah, so again, if for those of you who are going to watch this recording, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Lisa directly, or you could also reach out to EQC or staff and we can pass on your message. Again, thank you for those of you who attended this session, who attended the previous sessions. This again is the last EQC Speaker Series event for 2022. We were looking forward to choosing the events for next year as well. Yeah, if you have any questions or feedback, please feel free to reach out. Thank you again, Lisa, for joining us tonight. I hope everyone learned a lot and you get a ton of questions. And I know I'm going to be speaking with my family members about switching to EV yard equipment because we definitely use a lot of gas-powered ones right now, unfortunately. But yeah, again, this event is being recorded and will be available on Shoreview's local cable channel 16, as well as on the city's website, hopefully tomorrow, possibly Friday, but we'll definitely get it on there.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good
Have a
night,
good
everyone.
night.
Goodbye.